Establish a great home environment for success. People read about having a great work environment or an atmosphere at work for success. But if your environment at home is less than optimal, this can affect your work, no matter how great your work environment is. If you often find yourself fighting with your spouse, or you are constantly yelling at your kids, you may want to refocus your energies and try to rectify what is going on. Your conditions at home are going to affect you in every other aspect of your life. This may require some outside assistance, but the first step is recognizing what problems are occurring and try to use that knowledge to come up with a better way. For some people, there just is no better way. If two people were simply not meant to be, the right choice for them might be to go their separate ways. But even before doing that, it may be worth trying to save the relationship. Another way to turn around a difficult home situation is to get more involved in what your family is doing. It could be that you've been working too many hours, and they are getting frustrated with not being able to see you. Remember, people can find new jobs. It's really difficult to find new families. If you have been one to skip vacations instead of work, you should stop doing that. Take your vacations. That's why companies give them to people. They realize that vacations can be good for employees, so you should not feel guilty about taking them yourself. There are sometimes valid reasons not to take a vacation due to a work situation, but it should be postponed, not canceled entirely. Consider taking up new hobbies and learning activities with your family. Perhaps you can start hiking to learn more about the area you live in. If you have never taken your family camping, now could be a great time to do so. These kinds of activities can be a great way to reconnect and mend any tense home situations. Having a happy home environment is going to do wonders for you at work. You will burn out less because you have the support of your family, and you will be more productive in the long run. It will make you want to be home on weekends and after work. It will reflect well on all of your family members as well. Good customer service needs the right atmosphere. There's nothing worse than dealing with a company with poor customer service. Often, this can be the result of the customer service reps not having what they need to get their jobs done. In other words, their atmosphere is not set up correctly. Sometimes, the atmosphere in question can be a set of procedures or lack of them. For instance, if you were calling about a technical problem regarding your laptop, you probably expect the customer service person to take care of the problem. That is certainly reasonable. However, the rep may only be qualified to handle the first line of problems. These are usually configuration problems or handling credential management. If the problem is technical, they should be able to escalate it to the technical support staff. If a company doesn't have this kind of procedure in place, it's going to make for a very frustrating session for both the rep and the customer. Customer service departments are often looked upon as overhead. This means their budgets are small and will not have the most up-to-date technology. In fact, their equipment may be so old that they are unable to respond to customers promptly. Or worse, the technology simply won't be able to do what it needs to help the customer. Management within a business needs to look at customer service in a whole new light. They are called representatives for a reason. They need to set up the right kind of environment, Give them the right kind of tools and empower them with the appropriate knowledge and training. This will allow them to handle better any problems that customers run into. There are companies that are realizing the value of customer service. These companies are training the reps to establish relationships with customers in such a way to almost ensure future sales for the company. These forward-thinking companies have finally made it to the 21st century. They can use the relationship with these customers to improve further the process. It's a back-and-forth type of proposition. It remains to be seen if more companies will adopt these customer service measures, like the innovative companies. If they stick to the status quo and simply put up a rep for hearing complaints, or try to fix problems they are not qualified to handle, the companies may very well find themselves throwing in the white flag and going out of business. Help your employees be successful. If your employees are successful, they will help you succeed. After all, they are performing the work you ask them to do. For them to be successful, they need the right tools as well as the right environment. Giving that to them will get them well on their way towards succeeding. The first step is to make sure your employees are comfortable. Cramming 3 workers into a space that is made for 1 is never a good idea. Companies do this all the time. If you are tight on space, ask your company to expand that area, or try to come up with creative ways to better use the existing space. Next, foster an environment where employees feel relaxed in sharing their ideas. This is not as difficult as you may think. You can let them come up with ideas as a team, or each can come up with ideas and then present it as a group. Your goal is to make sure the ideas are in line with whatever business initiative you are trying to accomplish. When you focus on that, it becomes easier to explain why their ideas may not work, and it becomes less personal. Good managers will often structure projects to underpromise and overdeliver. They will add more time to the projects than employees had estimated. It is always better to come in on time with a project than to pile more work on the employees and risk missing deadlines. When that happens, you have to give your management an explanation. When you allow for ample time, explanations will not be needed, and you will establish a trust that you and your team can get projects done correctly and on time. Handle matters of discipline delicately. It's usually not a good idea to criticize employees in front of others. Do so in private meetings, so the offending employees can speak to you alone. On the other hand, praise can be given openly for the entire group to see. When your employees need certain tools and supplies, you should be the one to advocate on their behalf, should a need arise. If what they need is justified, but requires the project to go over budget, explain to your management that the job cannot be done without those tools. Often, it can't be known that those tools were needed until the project got underway, and more information was discovered about them. Imagine working with no windows. Sometimes you may find yourself in a situation where you work in a building with absolutely no windows. Hopefully, it will only be a temporary situation. But do you think you can handle that? Some people can't. They complain that you have no idea of what it's like outside, and it creates a very limiting atmosphere. As you can well imagine, this tends to create an environment with high turnover. It makes for a long workday and brings the spirit of the workers down. Companies are not doing themselves any favors when they create such an environment. It's proven that people have a need for sunlight. This is why the sales of ultraviolet lights for indoors have exploded in the past couple of years. This is especially true during the winter months, when the days are much shorter. What motivates companies to provide such an environment for their workers? The main reason has to be that they save money on the rent of the building. However, how much are they really saving if they have to regularly hire people due to the high turnover? If, as suggested, the situation is only temporary, it probably won't be as big an issue, as long as the company plans on moving and is transparent about the process. If it turns out the company never had any intention of changing the situation, this will cause anxiety among the employees, and the high turnover will continue. If you find yourself working in a building with no windows, there are some steps you can take to reduce the impact. The first is to make sure you step outside as often as possible. You want to experience as much sunlight as you can get. The next tip is to buy one of those ultraviolet lights for yourself. Hopefully, your company will allow you to have one. If they don't, and you are working in a windowless building, it may be time to move on and search for another company. Consider putting plants and pictures in your office or cubby. These can help to brighten up a gloomy space. Be sure to socialize with your colleagues, as this will help get your mind off where you work. You can also listen to music, either on your smart device or a radio that you bring in. If a company finds that they have to continue to have its employees work in this kind of atmosphere, they should try to be as flexible as possible. Successful atmosphere for writers. If you are a writer, the atmosphere you set up can greatly affect your chances of success. While this may be true for other professions, there are certain aspects of your environment that directly affect writers. These tips can help you set up the right atmosphere for your success. You want your energy levels to be as high as possible. Therefore, be sure to eat a healthy breakfast. Cereal and eggs would be considered healthy, whereas donuts and pastries are not. It is okay to indulge on the unhealthy foods once in a while, but keep it to a minimum. During the day, you'll want to snack on fruits and vegetables. Keep away from junk food, as this will bring your energy levels down. Sugar may offer a quick rush of energy, but you may end up crashing shortly after that. Set a schedule to write every day and make it a routine. Make a routine where you will write the same span of time for those days. It will become a habit, and you will find it easier to write over time. On off times, make sure you have a notebook or use your smartphone to record any ideas that may pop into your head when you are not writing. Writing often requires you to write about something you are unfamiliar with. Set up another period each day to learn a new subject. If you learn something new every day, the process of learning becomes easier. You can always choose to write about this new learning, even if you aren't doing it for an assignment. You may even be able to find someone willing to buy your work. Writing it down will reinforce your learning as well. If you happen to skip a day with your routine, don't panic about it. Just pick up the next day where you left off. The important point is not to let it go for too long, where you end up breaking the habit. If nothing else, write for half the time you usually write to keep active at it. When you incorporate these tips, you will find that your writing skills improve and you will learn more. This is sure to increase your readership and expand your reach. Setting up routines will help make writing more enjoyable because you will accomplish more. Who knows, you may even become the next best-selling author.